I was halfway up the stairs when the top three vanished. Not crumbled, not broken, just gone. 1 second I was reaching for the banister, and the next, there was nothing but open space where the last steps should have been, black, depthless, like staring into a hole in the world. The weirdest part? The house was circular. You could walk in a loop and eventually end up back where you started, only each time you did, something was different. A picture missing, a door that shouldn't exist, a wall slightly closer than before. I'd been living here for 3 months, subletting from a coworker who swore the layout was quirky but fun. I told myself I was just tired. Work had been brutal, my AI project deadlines were eating my sleep, and I'd been running on too much coffee and not enough reality. But when I crouched to look closer, I could feel warmth. Not from a light source, but like standing near the back of an animal's neck. That's when I heard it. Slow, padded footsteps rising from the void. Too heavy for a person. Too deliberate for anything on 4 legs. And then I saw it. 2 eyes, far too high off the ground to be a dog, glowing the way light sometimes bounces in glass. Except these didn't reflect. They burned. I froze, 1 foot hovering over the missing step, every instinct in me screaming to move, but my body felt pinned in place. The eyes swayed slightly, like whatever they belonged to was breathing, slow, patient, waiting for me to come closer. The padding stopped. Silence settled in, thick and smothering. My phone was in my hoodie pocket, but I didn't dare reach for it. I kept thinking about how, if I pulled it out, the light would give me away even more. Then this sound. A deep, low growl, but not like a dog's. It was too steady, almost mechanical, like a subwoofer hum. I swear I could feel it in my ribs. The warmth intensified, wrapping around my ankles like it was testing me. I leaned back slowly, putting my weight on the stair behind me, when the thing moved. Not forward, up. It didn't climb. It rose, like it was being pulled by invisible strings, emerging from the void without disturbing the air. The shape it took was wrong. Blacker than the shadows around it, absorbing the dim light from the hallway. For legs at first, but then it unfolded into something taller, vaguely human, with that same burning stare. And then, gone. Just gone. No fade, no retreat. 1 second it was there. The next there was nothing but the empty gap where the steps should have been. Except now, the gap was bigger. It had been maybe 2 feet across before. Now it was 5, an impossible leap unless I wanted to risk falling into whatever that darkness was. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely grip the railing. I backed down the stairs, keeping my eyes on the gap, waiting for those eyes to flare again. Nothing. Just that strange, unnatural silence that makes you wonder if you've gone deaf. I decided to loop around the house. If the layout was really as circular as it seemed, I could just take the other staircase up to my room. It should have been a 2-minute walk. Only, when I rounded the curve into the kitchen, there it was again, another staircase. Same angle, same banister, same carpet runner. Except this one was missing all but the first 3 steps. Above it, that same black nothing. I swear my heart skipped. I glanced back the way I'd come, but the hallway was gone. Not blocked, not dark, gone. A smooth wall where the opening had been. The AI project I'd been working on flashed through my mind for no reason I can explain. How it had started generating images of impossible spaces without me prompting it. Stairs into black voids, doors leading nowhere. I'd laughed about it last week. Now, I wasn't laughing. Something moved in the void again. Low to the ground this time. Fast. It shot out of the void like a shadow breaking loose from the floor. I didn't get a full look, just the impression of slick black fur and 2 long limbs before it vanished around the curve of the kitchen wall. I didn't think. I bolted in the opposite direction, my socks sliding on the hardwood. Every time I passed a window, the outside looked wrong. Too dark for the hour, no streetlights, no porch light from the neighbors. Just shapes moving in the tree lean, slow and deliberate, like they knew I could see them. When I finally found another staircase, my chest was burning, and I was gasping so loud I could barely hear. This one looked normal, top to bottom intact. I didn't care where it led, I just took the steps 2 at a time. Halfway up I saw her. At first I thought it was a trick of the dim light, but no, there was a woman standing at the landing, wearing a nurse's uniform straight out of the 1950s. Starched white dress, neat little cap, the works. She was holding something in her hand, dangling loosely at her side. A stethoscope. Her face was pale and expressionless, but her eyes tracked me as I climbed. I opened my mouth to ask, God knows what, but she beat me to it. Don't stop, she said softly. It's behind you. I didn't turn around. I don't know if it was instinct, or her voice, or the sheer weight in the air pressing between my shoulder blades, but I kept moving, fast. Her eyes stayed locked on mine as I closed the distance. She didn't move aside until I was a single step away, and when she did, she leaned in so close her breath touched my ear. Don't look at its face, she whispered. I stumbled past her onto the landing, adrenaline tearing through my chest. When I glanced back, she was gone. No sound, no trace, just an empty landing and the staircase I'd climbed, which now stopped after the first 6 steps, the rest opening into that same void. And from somewhere deep below, I heard it again, the slow, padded movement. Only this time it wasn't just one set of steps. It was many. My legs carried me down the hallway before my brain caught up. Every door I passed was wrong. Bathroom where my bedroom should be. A pantry crammed floor to ceiling with radios. A room full of my own furniture arranged like a showroom, but coated in dust. Halfway down, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, thinking maybe it was a way out of this nightmare. It was a notification from my AI project. A new image had finished rendering. The thumbnail showed a perfect recreation of the hallway I was standing in. And at the far end, just barely visible in the digital grain, was something tall and black, crouched, waiting. My thumb hovered over the screen, but I didn't want to tap it. I already knew if I opened that image, I'd see its face. And the nurse's warning was still fresh in my head. The hallway lights flickered once, long enough for the figure at the far end to no longer be digital. It was here, same crouched stance, same blackness that seemed to eat the light. But now it was swaying, like it was getting ready to move. I shoved the phone back into my pocket and darted into the nearest door. It wasn't a room. It was another staircase, this one spiraling tightly upward. The air was damp and smelled faintly metallic, like old blood. My footsteps echoed too much for the space, like there was more room than the walls allowed. Halfway up, my phone buzzed again. I ignored it. Then it buzzed harder, constant vibration, like it was going to burn through my pocket. The sound of the steps below me stopped. I thought maybe I'd lost it. But then the buzzing cut out abruptly, and in that sudden silence, a voice came through my phone's speaker. Not mechanical, not human. Look at me. I nearly dropped the phone. The voice was low, but not quiet, like it was speaking directly into my skull, vibrating behind my eyes. I didn't answer. I kept climbing, each step feeling smaller and smaller beneath my feet. Look at me. It said again, closer now. I could hear something wet in the way it pronounced the words, like each syllable was pushed through water. The staircase began to tilt. At first I thought it was me losing balance, but no. The whole spiral was slowly leaning toward the wall, each step groaning like old wood under pressure. My hand shot to the railing, but it was warm. Too warm. Something touched my ankle. I kicked instinctively, my heel connecting with nothing solid, but the warmth stayed. Crawling up my leg, wrapping my calf like fingers or claws. I didn't look down. I couldn't. I lunged for the next turn of the stairs, pulling myself higher, when the phone in my pocket screamed. Not rang, screamed. A full, raw human scream, sharp enough to make my teeth hurt. And then, layered under it, I heard my own voice, recorded from God knows when, whispering, "You've already seen me." My chest went cold, like every drop of blood had drained into my feet. I yanked the phone out and hurled it down the stairwell. I never heard it hit the bottom, just an abrupt silence, like the sound got swallowed whole. The stairs ended in a narrow landing with a single door. I didn't think, I just shoved it open. I was outside, or something pretending to be outside. The air was heavy and still, the sky a flat gray with no sun, no clouds, just an endless smear. I stood on what looked like a rural road, the kind I'd driven through 100 times visiting my grandmother. Cracked asphalt, weeds forcing their way through, tree lines on both sides. And about 20 yards ahead, standing perfectly still in the middle of the road, was the nurse. Same crisp white uniform, same pale, unreadable face. She didn't speak this time, just pointed down the road. Her hand was trembling. I followed her gaze, squinting through the dull light. At first I thought it was another person, maybe someone who could help. But then it dropped to all fours in a way no human could move, and began running toward us. It moved wrong. Too fast, each stride bending at joints that shouldn't exist, arms and legs hitting the ground at the same time like a spider. The sound it made was worse than the sight. Wet impacts, bone cracks, and that low mechanical hum buried underneath, vibrating the road. The nurse didn't run. She just looked at me with this expression like she was sorry. Then she stepped backward into the tree line and was gone. I didn't wait. I turned and bolted the opposite direction, lungs burning instantly. The thing behind me was closing the gap. I could hear it gaining, claws or hands scraping asphalt, the hum rattling my bones. The road curved sharply, and that's when I saw the house again. My house. Same peeling paint, same warped front porch. Except it was sitting right in the middle of the road like it had been dropped there. No driveway, no yard, just asphalt running straight into the front steps. The thing was almost on me. I took the porch stairs 2 at a time, slammed the door shut behind me, and found myself back in the same circular hallway. Only now, every door was open, and behind each one was a staircase into the void. The air inside was thick, like breathing through wet cloth. Each open doorway bled darkness into the hallway, and from every void came the same slow, deliberate sound of something moving just out of sight. I spun in a full circle. The hall didn't end. It just kept looping, door after door after door, all identical, all wrong. And every few seconds, one of the movements inside would stop, like it was listening. The hum started again, low and constant, but this time it wasn't coming from one place. It was everywhere. The floor trembled under my feet. I thought about picking a door at random and jumping in, just to get out of that hallway, but then I saw it. At the far end, if there even was an end, something stepped out of a doorway. Not the black void dog, not the crouched figure from my AI render. It was me. Same clothes, same posture, same terrified expression, except my eyes were completely black, glossy, and reflecting nothing. This other me smiled, slow and too wide, and gestured toward the nearest door. "Come see," it said, and my voice echoed down the hall like it was bouncing between 100 open mouths. Every instinct in me screamed to run, but there was nowhere to go. The loop was endless, the doors identical, the air too heavy to even breathe right. The other me tilted its head, still smiling, and stepped closer. The sound of movement from the voids grew louder, more frantic, like everything inside those stairwells knew what was about to happen. I backed away, hugging the wall. "Stay the hell away from me," I croaked. It laughed, my laugh, but hollow, empty of breath. "You've been walking in my house for hours," it said. "But you never asked whose it was." My spine pressed into a doorway frame, and I realized too late where I'd stopped. The void inside this one was pulsing, breathing, and the warmth spilling out of it climbed up my back like claws. The other me reached out a hand, palm up. Its skin wasn't right, shiny, stretched too thin over the knuckles, as if it wasn't really skin at all. Behind me, something in the void whispered, perfectly clear, "Push him in." And then, from somewhere far off, the nurse's voice, barely audible but urgent, "Don't." The warmth behind me surged, wrapping around my ribs like it was trying to pull me backward. My hands clawed at the doorway frame, splinters digging into my palms. The other me stepped closer, arms still outstretched. "You're already here," it said softly, and for the first time, its smile slipped, just enough to show something shifting under its skin. The hum grew so loud it rattled my teeth. From every open door along the hallway, shapes began to emerge. Too many limbs, too tall, too thin, each one crawling or stumbling toward me. I couldn't hold on. My grip slipped on the frame, my shoulder hitting the edge. The nurse's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Run." Somehow, I shoved myself sideways into the hall instead of falling back. The void behind me snapped shut with a sound like an enormous breath being sucked in. I sprinted. Doors blurred past. The hallway tilted, twisted, and then I was standing outside. Same rural road. Same flat gray sky. But the house was gone. And in the distance, at the curve in the road, I saw the black void dog. It was sitting perfectly still, watching me. It didn't move. But I swear its shadow stretched the entire way to my feet.